Hello, I'm Reginald Bush, and I'm the director of the White Plains Community Action Program. And this is White Plains CAP Talks. By the way, White Plains CAP is located at 70 Ferris Avenue here in the city of White Plains. White Plains CAP services individuals and families who are in need, who are at the or below the poverty level. We have such programs as the home assistance, home energy assistance. We have emergency food pantry. We have after-school programming, and a whole list of other programs for the less fortunate. We are under the umbrella of WestCOP, Westchester Community Opportunity Program. And if you'd like more information, please go to www.westcop.org. But today, I'm having really great feelings because I've got somebody here that we're going to talk to on White Plains CAP, and his name is Martin Jack. Hello, Martin. How are you?
Reggie.
It's nice to see you. Are you well?
So far.
Okay, good. So Martin and I are going to get into some things with what he's done, some of his past experiences, some of the things that White Plains CAP has done for him, so that you can get sort of a bird's eye view of White Plains CAP and what it does for White Plains residents and beyond. So, Martin, tell us a little bit about who is Martin Jack.
Well, Martin Jack started off as a kid, raised in Far Rockaway, but I was inducted or I entered the foster care system early, around the age of 9, 10, and I stayed there until about 21, 22. I'm 23 now. So, that's, who's Martin Jack, and went to school, college, I moved around every year for probably my last 10 years. So, yeah.
So now you said you went to school. Where did you go to school, and are you still in school?
Yeah, I went to school I graduated from Nyack High School, but I went to Mercy College, and I'm enrolled in Mercy College now. And that's what I do for school, and I work in a group home.
You do?
Yeah, I work in Abbott House.
Abbott House here in White Plains, or?
Yeah, here in Dobbs Ferry.
Oh, in Dobbs Ferry.
So, and actually is the same exact foster care agency that I was in.
Really?
As a child.
So, if I may, and I don't want to, although I do want to sort of dive into this because I know that there's a lot of things that happens in the foster care system that some don't know about, and I think that we could be instrumental in helping bring some of that to the forefront here with our conversation, because when I learned about it, it was mind-boggling. So one of the things that I want to start with is this whole opt-out, because there's an opt-out age for foster care individuals, and you can get caught in a crossfire of that opt-out age, which I believe you got caught up in, and we actually helped you get caught out of, if that's grammatically correct.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, it's at the age of 18, you have the option to withdraw yourself from the foster care system. I chose not to, but due to the fact that I went directly to college from my group home, things got kind of mixed up because that's not a common trend. So when I got there, apartments and things that you're gonna need in transitional independent living was lost in a sense for me, and
that is because you chose to go to college at the age of 18, and my understanding is that when you do that, this being able to get a place that's usually found through the group home setting before you get to that age 18 is lost, because you have to actually, it's kind of an immediate thing. They find you a place and then you have to actually move in. But if you're in a dormitory setting, which I believe you were, then that gets all sort of thrown out the window.
Well, in the group home that I was at, it was very few people who went on to college. So, when you get that age, when you're 18, 19, you're supposed, the court system, you have a law guardian and social workers. They're supposed to go apply for housing, and you're the number one priority. But with me going into the dorms, kind of got mixed up because they said, well, is the social worker taking care of him or that? So, yeah, I did not get those same privileges, you would say, as when college is over or during college, I would have an apartment to
Hmm.
live in. So when college got too high for me to pay, or the dorms got too high, Mercy College is private. So when it got too high for me to pay for, I was stuck with a position where do I go from here? Where do I live? Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
this is with me working and volunteering and all that kind of stuff. So I was put in a bind, and I found myself like, okay, next week I have to move out. Where am I gonna go?
Hmm.
Where I'm gonna sleep, where I'm gonna live,
Hmm.
in that situation. And that's where CAP and White Plains organization, they came in and kind of definitely helped me off the
So,
ground.
and I'm going to come back to, because you said that very few foster care individuals um, go to college. So I want to come back to that and how that the road of yours led you there. But but I'm interested to hear a little more about, so somewhere in this fair city of White Plains, you heard of White Plains Community Action Program before?
Well, I heard of it one time. I guess it was a sponsored trip to Howard Homecoming. I also heard, and it gave kids in foster care opportunity to go visit colleges. Kind of.
Actually, that was the Howard University Alumni Association, which I am president emeritus of.
Oh, so
So
that
you're
could have been
mixing
it.
it up a little bit,
So,
but that's okay. So now taking that out of the equation, so somewhere you heard of White Plains Cap?
yeah, I heard of it through Susan McPherson, someone in Abbott House, and she's basically the director of independent living and adolescents who are about to be aging out
Hmm.
of care, and she definitely referred me to you guys, and which was a phenomenal thing.
Susan and I do know each other. Susan McPherson from Abbott House will actually be a guest here on White Plains Cap Talks very soon. But yes, Susan and I were on the African American Advisory Board, and so I did get a trip sponsored to Howard University during homecoming, and I always tell people, in which you probably can attest to, that if you've never been to a Howard homecoming, you've really never been to a homecoming.
Yeah,
How was that experience? I know I'm jumping around a little
that
bit.
that experience was extremely instrumental to me deciding to go to college.
Really? Okay, so now, let me go back, and I hate that I'm kind of jumping around here, but I got all up here. It'll come back, I promise. So you said that a lot of individuals in foster care, is it not that they don't get the opportunity to go to college, or do they, maybe some of them don't have the aptitude to go to college? I mean, and how did you? Now I do know part of this story, but I'd like for you to read, because some of it I've forgotten, and then as I share this with all you folks out there, and it's a great thing to share and hear, because you may not know. But so tell me, how did this happen? You say you got to go to Howard University, and I know that there's been this sort of I don't want to say I will not dive into your private childhood life, which I happen to know, but because you didn't live this colorful childhood upbringing kind of thing, and got sent into foster care when you were 10. I've got to believe that the last thing on your mind was going to college, and maybe some of the struggle even was with your academics at the middle school and high school. So I'm going to stop there with Mima and let you talk about. So how did this all come about, Martin?
I would say in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I transitioned to NIAC, and during the end of my latter part of the years in high school, so much, of my personal life became a bigger focus than academic life. So, with that being said, I really didn't expect a college future. I didn't expect to graduate, high school. It wasn't something that, we or kids in my situation had goals of. We had goals to survive and to not go to jail,
Hmm.
somehow, some way.
Hmm.
Now,
So going to school and learning and trying to get the stepping stone that will allow you to actually go to college is not something that you would say is on the minds of most foster care
well,
individuals,
well,
or at least in your case.
well, I won't say it wasn't on my mind. It was definitely on my mind, but I want the people to kind of imagine you have a school system
Hmm.
that's kind of, I don't want to say it's simple, but you go to the class, you do this, then you have you're in a group home, a big foster care agency where you split up from your family. You got to go to court here and there. Family visits, 13 brothers and sisters, dealing with 13 kids inside of a group home,
Hmm.
going through those different struggles. And that's just to name a few. And now you look at your daily life, that group home life is going to consume you. And especially if you had family members that's influencing you.
Hmm.
And so, with that being said, I was so tangled up with the negativity that I was facing during this time.
Hmm.
And you got to realize at that time I was about 16, 17, not been going on home visits or anything like that. So I was kind of to myself. So school was put on the back burner. Now until when I got a chance for this Howard homecoming trip, it opened up my eyes to see, because the problem with that, the thing that helps me, I understood that there was other options out there. When kids in foster care
Hmm.
does not get exposed to other options or choices,
Hmm.
when you see this or that,
Hmm.
and there's nobody there to say, hey, you can do this and you can do that, and if you want to do it, I can help you get there.
Mm.
And I think that part is something I think a lot of kids in foster care needs to hear. And I was fortunate enough not only to hear that, but it opened my eyes when I went to Howard. I seen people. I seen some of my friends from high school there already,
Mm.
and I seen kids my age,
Hmm.
going to school. I asked a couple of people, "How is this like? How does it work?"
Hmm.
How they said, "Oh man, it's good." You start school on Monday. We do this. Then we have our chess meeting. We have our student body meeting. And you see kids your age dressed just like you,
Hmm.
getting an education,
Hmm.
coming out with bachelor's degrees. So
Hmm.
after that trip, on the way down, I said, I'm going to do what I have to do. And I was in danger of failing and getting left back for a second time
Mm.
that year.
Hmm.
And a lot of people say, oh, he's not going to make it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And not only just a regular diploma, maybe not even a GED.
Mm.
And I came down, I aced all my regents, got a regents diploma that same year, and Mercy College was the college I wanted to go to because I had it in my sights. It was so close to my foster home, and I used to see
Hmm.
people there when I drove by to visit my brother in Chosen Village.
Hmm.
That was in the middle ground. I seen boys, girls walking together outside in the community. So it presented a new atmosphere, a different life.
Mm.
I thought it would be more comfort and smoothing, so soothing. So
Hmm.
that's what I did, and it went well.
Wow. So now something that you said captured my interest, and I think that there's something to be captured with what you said, because I have thought about this, and I think that you could better say it to our listening audience. I've had the opportunity to deal with individuals who, in I'll say a quote unquote normal school setting, that are labeled troubled individuals, you know, but they come from pretty much, a stable home. Maybe they're living in, with a single parent, but it's their mother, and maybe they've got a couple of brothers and sisters in the house or whatever. But people always think that those individuals really have it like, oh, poor such and such
Yeah.
is, troubled. They don't have any. So, but my thought is that if those individuals could hear some of the stuff that foster young men and women go through, they'd go, oh. So would you say, and maybe I'm not making sense and I'm kind of rambling on here, but I'm trying to get to a point that there's a different setting and level and even expectations, I think, that foster care individuals have opposed to, let's say, those people who are known as,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to get to, Martin?
And that you bring up a great point because I used to work also at the YMCA and I used to help volunteer and those are kids from the community and I would hear oh man this is tough or I would hear the common phrase that I would hear so much, hey man I wish I was in a group home. You don't have to listen to your mom. And I say you know what, that statement by itself is a reflection on society on how unaware we are in a group home and foster care system. Because as kids, we're wanting to make it out of this. And there are people saying they want to get involved in, like, enter that kind of lifestyle. And it's not good, when you don't know any of your family for years and years and decades. Still don't. So I would say that it's a difference, and I don't want to undermine anyone's life because I believe everyone has struggles. But I feel with foster care, foster kids, or kids in group homes, there's not that traditional support or upbringing or bonding or love or some kind of shelter or security. And when you're in that kind of environment, there's not security and the expectations. Most kids who are in foster care or in the group homes, they were in a situation where they were being neglected, where they were not involved in school, maybe till 8th grade, I didn't start school until I reached Abbott House, really. I was in and out of school for like my whole life until about 6th, 7th grade.
Really?
Really. I don't remember not one day in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. No.
Is that so? Is that because you were sort of bouncing around, or is it just
that's
the
because
living with
to give you guys a little sneak peek, in the environment I grew up, it was I hate to say this, but crack houses, and I imagine being a kid forced to live there. So who's gonna wake you up for school? Is school that important? And I walked to school when I could, but that school wasn't the main focus then. It was about drugs, it was about guns, violence, sex, and that was the lifestyle. And the good thing I learned from it is I had to grow up pretty quickly. I was packing bags in order to make money so I can eat and things like that. So
you were pretty much on your own at a very young age, and I believe you and your brother.
Yeah, me, my brother, and then sooner or later I had another brother, Donovan, and he was 3 years younger. But eventually it piled all the way up to 13 brothers and sisters who were split up. Then a brother died. Then my grandmother died. And then you get that sense like, oh man, I'm stuck here for life. And then you're in certain institutions where they don't know where to place you. So you're in there with people who are juvenile, or who's in there for fighting, stealing, so many different problems all mixed up in one.
Which that in itself is something that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's different when you're growing up. And so now I'm back to kind of those folks, those kids who are called troubled teens, troubled kids, right? Most of them don't have to deal with, somebody that they don't know this person from Adam, never saw them until they came to this group home or whatever, and now I'm thrust into living space with you, and by the way, you come to the table with all kinds of issues, and while I've got my own issues, now I've got
blended in,
and this is interesting, folks, to understand something that Martin shared with me is that what you don't understand, many people, is that when you're in this group setting, and you come to that table with your own problem, with identity and where you came from, living in a crack house and all that kind of stuff, and being forced to live a certain lifestyle, and now you are thrust into this situation with all these other kids, and now you actually end up, now correct me, Martin, if I'm wrong, but you end up taking on some of their issues.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
what you told me?
and yes, and that's exactly right. So imagine for that modern kid who's having problems not listening to his mom.
Right.
Go to school on time.
Right.
Take out the garbage, do this,
Yeah.
And that kid said, you know what, man, I bet it's better in a group home because I don't have to hear my mom.
Right.
Now you go into the group home,
Yeah.
and you with 13 kids that you gotta hear,
Yeah.
and you live in rooms with kids, like you got 3-man rooms, so you're in a room with 2 other kids you don't know. So imagine not listening to that, and one of them walk up to you and say, hey, where's your money?
Yeah.
That's when you fight. Listen, on average, I used to get into fights maybe about 4 times a week.
Wow.
Not because I wanted to, but I was most often you're the youngest kid there.
Yeah.
But you know what? The kids are gonna see. Those kids who deserve to be there.
Right.
And they're gonna take advantage, and they will say, hey, let me have this, and then you'll get into certain controversies. Then you're gonna feel like, dag, I need a home. This is not it for me. And and then when you have only 1 or 2 staffs on duty, how can 1 or 2 staff watch 13 kids who are 18, 19, 20,
Right.
and that kind of mindset, who are troubled in a sense where they lost parents, they were addicted to drugs, they were on the streets, they did drugs in the streets. Now you're having a problem with your family issues, and not to undermine that, but you're going into a whole different lifestyle, and a lot of people wouldn't understand that. And then just how society perceives you, it's completely different because society is like that mainstream world, and you always get told when you're in a group home, you would never make it out there in the mainstream world. It's too crazy. It's too fast for you. You guys can't operate that way.
Wow.
You guys are taking medication. You guys are on this.
Right.
You won't be able. You'll be in jail, locked up. So if you imagine placing a group home in Mount Kisco, or a group home in a nice town in White Plains, or a group home in Nyack. Predominantly really good education system with a nice wealth in the town. Society may not perceive or welcome open arms that group home because the notion of what they feel or think about it.
Right.
Just to say one quick story about how it really endured on me. I worked in Finish Line for a number of years, and one day I helped a guy find some shoes that he needed for running, and I took my time with him, and he appreciated it so much. He says, wow, man, thank you a lot. Where do you want to go to school? I said, I want to go to school for social work. I was about 16, 17. And he says, really? And he was really nice. And I said, yeah, social work. He says, social work, man. And he says, don't go. It doesn't make any money, right? And I laughed. So he says, well, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
I said, well, I want to work with a group home with kids. He did not know I was in a group home at the time. He says, man, don't do it.
Yeah.
Those kids is a lost cause.
Wow. Well, clearly you are not a lost cause.
Yeah.
You have certainly taken, I think, some strong adversities and turned them around into your own benefit, and now sort of giving back, which I just think is key, giving back to the foster care system and to the community in general. And I know that you had mentioned, White Plains Cap, that, it helped you, through your housing crisis.
Yeah.
And so now you've got stable housing, and which is great. So we've got a couple more minutes, and two things I want to do before we go is, I want you to quickly tell me about New Yorkers for Children, and then tell me some of the things that Martin Jack has got on the horizon.
All right. Well, I got it.
Like 2-3 minutes.
I got involved with New Yorkers for Children while I was in Mercy. After my first year, I signed up. I won a runner-up Spirit Award. That they gave me $2,500 for a scholarship, which allowed me, to stay in the dorms and continue with my academic career. And from then on, I joined the Youth Advisory Board for New Yorkers for Children. And that
And what is, I don't mean to cut you off, but what is New Yorkers for Children? And you just had some kind of gala, and we've got literally about
yeah.
2 more minutes.
New Yorkers for Children is an organization founded by Nicholas Capetta, who was also in a recent, I believe,
Commissioner for Fire,
yeah,
I
for
believe.
fire, yeah. Where you get together a whole bunch of celebrities and people who have enough to give back, and they give back, and we send kids back to school packages where book bags, computers, laptops, blankets,
Oh, nice.
all kinds of stuff, and then we also throw big events like the Fall Gala I just hosted recently, and
And I think there's somewhere, kids. There's somewhere that, like, if people are interested in seeing Martin,
Yeah.
there's there a
the
website somewhere?
Yeah, you could go. You could Google, of course, at New Yorkers for Children, or go to NewYorkersForChildren.com or org, and but you type in New Yorkers for Children on your computer, you'll see it, and go to the homepage, and you'll see the events and the things that we do.
And so here, let me explain something to you. Here is a young man at 23, about to be 24 soon, that it was in this foster care system, but now did host this event with who was it? The basketball player. I think.
Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony
was being awarded. Leader Banks was there.
Last year, I think it was Mary J. Blige, and just all these people. One last thing I have to ask you: anything coming up for Martin, Jack?
Yeah,
graduation is one soon.
Yes.
Right?
I just got interviewed by Daily News, so it's gonna be a column, a section in Daily News depicting a little bit more in detail about some of the things that I endured in my, my journey and venture to this point. Because now a lot of people would say, or look at me and say, okay, how did he get here? And it shows you there in the Daily News, and we're going to do a little bit clipping on what New Yorker of the Week and things like that. So
okay, great. We'll be looking for that. So listen, our time is up, but thank you. I'm Reginald Bush, and thank you for watching White Plains Cap Talks. Good day.